but athletes should be kind of aware, like there are different tiers within, and what do you want your college rowing experience to look like? Like you said, are you the athlete who's, putting in the extra work or leading the charge, with the stretches, or someone that athletes can lean on from a leadership position? Like take that wherever you want, but kind of using that as kind of like the backstop, just, where Division I rowing, like, and you probably sense a lot of this in your conversations now and through your conversations as a college coach. Like what are like pillars that you believe are, kind of things that make a Division I rower at the high school level that you're sensing, where it's like, these are things that I'm looking for as a coach. Again, you highlighted a bunch of them, but narrow in a little bit on competitive Division I rowing, where you're in it to win conference championships and go off to NCAAs and all these things, right? That's why we're in it. Like narrow it down a little bit. Like what are characteristics that you feel make a high school athlete successful at the college level for 4 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think, coming from any high school program, you need to be one of the absolute top athletes there. You need to be one of the most competitive. You also need to be one of the people who, when the coach says like, "Hey, it'll be great if you get some extra training this week," you're the one absolutely going down to the boathouse or going for the run, or again, bringing teammates with you to bring them in, but really leading the charge on everything, to be always pushing the envelope and thinking about what else could you do to make your boat faster? What else could you do to make you faster? What else can you do to push the program forward? And so athletes who are always asking those questions, that's a Division I athlete. Because a Division I athlete has to be pretty exceptional. And so thinking about who are the hardest workers in those programs, and then also the ones who are always the ones moving that top boat. Anytime I hear from one of the athletes here that, oh, I should really talk to this person who's at their high school, she's the hardest worker I know, I think that's who we want. Absolutely. Because if that is not something they're saying about someone, that's someone who's going to have a tough time Division I. Because, thinking about every level you're just talking about, is this a grand final crew? Is this a crew that is vying for a conference championship or NCAA slot? These are all teams who are operating at a really high level. And so all of those athletes within them need to be operating at that high level. And so thinking about what are the ways that we can keep pushing. And we had a great conversation recently here about culture and goals. And one of the athletes mentioned something about like, I don't want to get to the end of the year and think like, what else could we have done? And I really like that sentiment. And I think that's always something that I've seen within really successful crews and teams that I've worked with, is what else can we do? What else can we be thinking about? What else can we optimize? And that goes for everything. It's thinking about training, it's thinking about the equipment, it's thinking about the sleep and nutrition and hydration and stretching and PT and like everything you're thinking about, team culture. But how do we do the best that we can in every single one of these areas so that we can get to the end of the year and say, absolutely, that's as fast as we could have been. And if you do that and you don't quite hit your goals, that's still a pretty fantastic place to be. You can be really proud of that effort and that result. Sometimes tough when that's where you come up. But if you're able to really do everything possible, that's a great place to be as a program and as a coach and really as an athlete. I mean, those are the athletes.
Yeah, and it sounds like in some capacity, like in some ways, you're describing what I call a contributor to a Division I program. And I think one of the things that I always kind of like to say is like, just because you can get, you can go to a Division I program and be a part of the rowing team, are you actually contributing to that rowing team in the sense of, and again, that can come in very different, frames and lenses and this and that, right? There's contributing in different ways other than, boat performance and team performance. But we're gonna go that route, boat performance and team performance, because you want to be in a top boat in some capacity. You want to go to the big races like, head of the Charles and, NCAAs, or, be in the top boat at the conference championships. Like what are like questions that athletes at the high school level should be asking themselves? I love this question. I've asked this a few times in the 70 plus episodes that we've done on here, but what are questions that athletes at the high school level should be asking themselves to understand or to verify if Division I rowing is the college experience that they're looking for? And examples could be like, you guys are practicing right now all the way until finals. You have, you were highlighting before before we started record, right? You had lift this morning and then you have practice this afternoon. Kind of 20 hour weeks is kind of like the limit of organized practice that you're able to do. But a lot of teams are taking advantage of that, right? They're trying to maximize their time with the athletes that they're allowed. Balancing academics and athletics, right? Bucknell's no joke on the academic front, right? So you got to know how to handle that. What are questions that athletes should be asking themselves to understand, like, hey, Division I rowing is a route that I could see myself pursuing when I get to that point of choosing where I want to go. What are those? Take that wherever you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we talk about 20-hour weeks and thinking about training at the top NCAA level, I think also a lot of high schoolers that are oftentimes spending about 20 hours at practice, but we also get to train for 20 hours. So we're not just taking the bus to practice and rowing, taking the bus back, and all that adds up to 20 hours. We're doing 20 hours of training every week, and we can. Um, and so thinking about what that looks like, and are they someone who's going to be able to do that, and is also interested in that, because that's training at a really high level. I mean, you look at national team athletes and they are training more than that, but Division I level is going to be a heck of a lot closer to that than it is to thinking about training at a different level. And so, yeah, are you someone who wants to be putting a ton of time and effort and work into achieving these athletic goals, working with your team, get into that top level? Are you committed to working at that level? And also, can you do that as a really high functioning student athlete? And that's a question that we often get as recruiting coaches: is like, is there can I be in pre med, or can I be an engineer, or can I double major in IR and Spanish? And the answer to all of those at Bucknell is absolutely yes, you can do that. But then if someone says, is that doable? I say, sure. Is it easy? No, absolutely not. No one's going to sit here and tell you that being a really top tier athlete and student is going to be easy. It takes a ton of time management and hard work. And these athletes are working, just all day long, because they've got a morning lift, they're in classes, they've got some training to do on their own, they've got to go to office hours, they're back at practice again this afternoon. Like, they are booked all day long, and so it's about being a really high functioning individual and then optimizing that as a student athlete and thinking about, like, is that what I want to do? And knowing that that's also year round. When you think about rowing at a different level in college, that may look a little bit different throughout the course of the year. It may be some more self-directed training, and maybe that's something that is more someone's speed, or appeals to them more. Because when we talk about Division I, it really is from the beginning of the school year all the way through to the end. And so thinking about how do you do those really well, and that's through midterms and finals and everything else.